And when they're acting bratty like that, it's usually they're acting out of fear. A Course in Miracles says that there are only two emotions. There's love or there's fear. So that means any behavior that's mean or bratty is because that person is afraid. And if you can see through that and treat them with love anyway, perhaps they can feel safe enough to come around, and when they're feeling love, they will be giving you loving behavior. So this conference was really wonderful for that. We were able to get to know one another. We shared some of the myths that we had made up about each other. You know, we got that stuff out in the open, the BS. What they knew in their organization is that the international people are really very independent and hard to get along with, and our organization was autocratic. And what we knew about them is that they didn't really even teach treatment. We were the ones who taught treatment. When that was shared with them, they audibly gasped. They went, "You thought that about us?" You know, and because they used the word prayer a lot, and we knew we were better because we used the word treatment instead of prayer. Silly things like that, you know, and at the end of it, we knowing each other better so that we could love each other better, we left still not knowing how we're going to integrate, but knowing that we are integrating. And we're doing it on all levels. The new ministers in many of our churches are united ministers because we've opened up the candidating process to both branches. And that's part of the way that we'll become one. But mostly we're becoming one because we are dropping the myths. We are dropping the demonizing of the us against them. And we're seeing the oneness of it. So we need to look also in our own lives and saying, how are we keeping ourselves separate from someone or someones? And what bratty behavior am I seeing that I'm taking personally as an affront that I could see as really a call for love? You see, A Course in Miracles says if it's not loving, it's a call for love. How in the world can you see that? The best place for me to have learned that, and it was a wonderful opportunity, was when I first became a therapist, and Bob and I were working together in a hospital unit treating eating disorders. Anorexia, bulimia, and I'm trying to think of the word for it. Morbid obesity was the medical term for it. And so, and these people can have some pretty distorted thinking, as you can imagine. And Bob was the program director. I was the lead counselor. And one of the reasons what we've always liked to keep separate names is that we do work together often, and I wanted to have autonomy. I didn't want to be the program director's wife. So we had different last names. You know, I was born with this name. I like it. Churchman is mine. And I decided I wasn't going to change it ever again either. After I gave it up one time, I got it back. I said, that's mine. And so people didn't know, a lot of the new patients didn't know we were married. And as the lead counselor, I made up and kept the rules for the new patients, you know, the thou shalt nots and the thou shalts, because they had homework to do and whatnot. So I learned that many patients hated me just because I was the authority figure. In other words, they projected all of their authority figure issues onto me. And didn't know me, of course, but hated me anyway. And so they would sometimes go to Bob, the program director, to tell him how awful I was. And how they really just ought to get rid of me because I was just so mean. And, you know, Bob knew me in a different sense. He didn't think of me as mean. And it was really an opportunity for me to not take that hatred personally. You know, and I would meet with them, and I'd say, you don't know me well enough to hate me, you know. Let's get to know one another first. And so when we can, and I could really let them hate me and not hate them back, you know, not take it personally. It was like dealing with a child who's acting like a brat. You don't hate them, you just know they're acting like a brat right now. And so if we can do that with our adult relationships, and anybody else we're keeping as other, as separate, that's how we bring peace into the world. And when all else fails, do treatment to remind yourself of the oneness. I had let myself become distant from my stepmother because we had a disagreement over how a family member should be treated, and she wanted me to agree with her, and I didn't. Because I wouldn't agree with her, she would want to harp on that every time we talked, and I didn't find that fun. So I just stopped being in touch with her, and I found if I didn't call her, she didn't call me, and before I knew it, years were going by before, maybe a Christmas card, but other than that, there was no connection. And we were studying this book, You Can Change the World, by, I can't remember the author. And it said that do not throw relationships away. It said, do not throw relationships away, because you will meet up with that person eventually, even if it's on the other side or the next life. And that relationships are not to be thrown away. And so when I thought about it, I thought, what relationships do I have that I've thrown away? I've even managed to maintain a pretty good one with my ex-husband. So at first I thought, well, I haven't thrown any away. And then I thought, oh, there's that one, the stepmother one. Oh, yes, I have thrown that away. And so I decided to call her just to tell her that I love her and I've been thinking about her. And she laughed and she said, well, you almost missed me. She had had a acute appendicitis and had almost died just like the month before. And I thought, oh my God, how would I have felt if she had died and I hadn't been in a communication with her for a couple of years? So, we started the relationship again, and we never bring up that topic. We just love each other and thank each other for being who the other one is. They live in Louisiana, so I just called with the hurricane. And she said, thank you for calling. And it's enabled us to both enjoy the love that is really the truth of that relationship, because it's always the only truth of the relationship is the love that's there. So treat yourself to treatment. And so it is. Going to invite Reverend Bob up. Thank you.